Hello, I'm Sheila Bender, and I'm here to host a reading for the Northwind Poetry Reading Series. I, along with three others, Holly Hughes, Sharon Carter, and Linda Robertson, are this year's coordinators for the poetry series. It would have taken place in the center in Port Townsend, Washington in April, but that was not possible. So over this time, we've managed to put together an online presentation. Shortly, I will turn the reading over to Sarah Zale to introduce the project that she conceived and then co-edited along with Terry Persun and the other readers who will be with us tonight. All of them are Port Townsend residents. Sarah is a recent Port Townsend resident who has moved now to Arizona. And Terry and the other readers who will introduce themselves to you are from our town. So I want to take a moment to thank Charlie Fleischman, who edited all the segments together so that we could present this as one recording to you. And then to tell you that at the end of the reading, Sharon Carter will close out the reading and tell you a little bit more. So now I'd like to turn the reading over to Sarah, who will introduce the poets after she introduces the project. And each of the poets will read their bio, backstory to their poem, and then their poem. I know it's going to be a sobering but important reading. So take it away, Sarah. Thank you.
What a pleasure for me to be, at least virtually, back in Port Townsend, surrounded by poets who have my deepest respect. They believe the arts can remind us of our humanity, remind us that we can change the world. The inception of Strange Fruit, Poems on the Death Penalty, occurred when I learned that my birth state, Michigan, in 1847, was the first English-speaking government in the world to abolish capital punishment for most crimes. Years later, I was living in Washington State. In February 2014, Governor Jay Inslee instituted a moratorium with hopes of passing legislation to abolish the state's death penalty. 4 years later, however, still no Senate bill had passed that would end the death penalty. 8 men were on death row. These 8 men had 2 choices as to how their lives would end: by lethal injection or hanging. Washington was the only state in the country with active gallows. This is why the cover of Strange Fruit by artist James B. Murphy depicts a multiracial man with a noose around his neck. I sent out a call to Washington State poets to use their art in support of Governor Inslee's fight for a bill. Terry Persun agreed to co-edit the anthology. During the fall of 2018, the Washington State Supreme Court voted unanimously to abolish the death penalty. Some people asked me at the time, so do we need the anthology now? Yes, I said, absolutely. The reason? Well, the same month that the Washington bill passed, a Gallup poll revealed that only 41% of Americans oppose the death penalty. Close to 50% disclosed they believe it is imposed fairly, and 62% declared it morally acceptable. So the poems in this anthology were chosen for their intention to open minds and hearts to the fate of individuals on death row and the individuals directly affected by their crimes. The poems also ask a question. In the words of Brian Stevenson, author of Just Mercy, A Story of Justice and Redemption, the death penalty is not about whether people deserve to die for the crimes they commit. The real question of capital punishment is, do we deserve to kill? The work of Poets for Social Justice in the prison system is not done. As of today, 25 states do not have the death penalty, but 22 do, and 3 have a governor-imposed moratorium. This month, poets will read from this anthology at a national Zoom symposium on the death penalty hosted by Seattle University. Sister Helen Persun is the keynote speaker. Now, Sister Helen is the author of the book Dead Man Walking, which was made into a movie with Sean Penn and Susan Sarandon. The journalist Amy Goodman called Sister Helen the Catholic nun who changed the U.S. debate on the death penalty forever. As well as that, I am working in collaboration with the Art for Justice Project at the University of Arizona on another anthology that will include the work of incarcerated poets. Arizona still has the death penalty. I'd like to close this introduction with a review by the president of the Board of Death Penalty Focus, an organization based out of California. The president's name is Mike Farrell. You probably know him as B.J. Honeycutt of MASH fame. He wrote, "At first glance, poetry and the death penalty seem an odd pairing. Poetry feeds the soul, executions kill it. But in Strange Fruit, the complex web of emotions capital punishment evokes is beautifully rendered. It's an emotional journey that will remind you of the urgent need to abolish this horror once and for all." So thank you, Northwind, Holly, Linda, Sharon, Sheila, for inviting poets in this anthology to show how the arts can awaken minds and hearts to issues of social justice. Now, let's welcome the poets.
My name is Bill Mawhinney. I've written 2 books of poetry. The first, Songs in My Begging Bowl, appeared in 2002. And my second collection, Cairns Along the Road, appeared in 2009. For 13 years, I was host of the Northwind reading series in Port Townsend. And the Port Townsend Arts Commission named me Angel of the Arts for 2011. I want to thank Sarah Zale and Terry Persun for including my work in this project. I was inspired to submit my small poem to this anthology because the death penalty makes no moral sense to me. I've always puzzled over why we kill people who've killed people to show that killing people is wrong. And I agree with Albert Camus. I think capital punishment is the most premeditated of murders. For this poem, you'll need, there's 2 words that you'll need to know. The one, ahimsa, is a Sanskrit word, which is the Buddhist precept to do no harm to any life form, human or non-human, with whom we share our being. And the second is parsley, the name of a marvelous tabby cat who shared his life with me for 20 years. I miss parsley dearly. The Mouser. I spring from my chair, I sprint to the kitchen and rummage in a cupboard and grab a jar. After parsley, triumphant stalker of woodpiles, ace garage mouser, struts into the living room, opens his jaws and deposits a stunned, dark mouse dead center on the carpet. And I plop the glass over this quivering creature. Bright black eyes glint as it skitters inside its suddenly shrunken world. And I walk out to the back slope and down a trail into the alders, unscrew the lid, upend the mouse onto the forest floor, and it scrabbles to its feet and scurries under a maple leaf, and I tell this fellow mortal, go be a Buddha, then turn toward home, awash in a self-righteous glow after this gesture of ahimsa I thread the lid onto the jar and wonder which of my best laid schemes will someday toss me into the woods.
Hi, my name is Sharon Carter. I'm a poet and visual artist. I retired from a career in healthcare. My work has been published online and in many small presses, including Terra Nova, Pontoon, Raven Chronicles, and Poetry on the Buses. I was fortunate enough to be a Hedgebrook resident as well as a Jack Straw writer. I have a manuscript forthcoming entitled Quiver. I wanted to bring attention to the death penalty for many reasons: moral, philosophical, because of its racial bias, and the rate of false convictions. I have a personal story about the latter. When I was 14 in the UK, my childhood home was compulsorily purchased by the local council and a police station erected in its place. In 1974, 6 Irishmen, later called the Birmingham Six, were detained there and beaten up and convicted of being IRA bombers responsible for 21 deaths. Fortunately, Britain had abolished the death penalty in 1965, so they received life sentences instead. They were released 16 years later when shoddy forensics and police perjury were revealed. The real bombers were living in Ireland all along and were never charged. My poem for the anthology is called Sing Sing. Sing Sing. Words separated by a comma mean to perform by voice. Comma erased, a prison, the name from the native sink sink, stone upon stone. In some countries, death comes that way. The Rosenbergs met Sing Sing's electric chair in '53. Wardens called it riding the lightning, unable perhaps to say murder. Julius received 1 pulse, Ethel 5. Reporters described smoke exiting her temporal electrode. The last woman executed before it shut down in '63. That year, the Beatles topped the charts, and Warhol silk-screened the chair's image in psychedelic reds, yellows, and blues. For many, it's only pop art. I imagine electricity, each death made unforgettable. Thank you.
I'm Norma Bishop. I've been writing most of my life. As a writer, I strive to give readers content with an emotional context that may help them change or alter their perspective on life. I've been an attorney, a museum director, and served as an editor for a women's magazine. As an attorney, I worked for a short time for the California Appellate Project, helping criminal defendants appeal their cases when they couldn't afford to hire attorneys to do so. In that role, I learned about inequality in the criminal justice system, especially when it comes to sentencing. That inequality, based on perceived differences of race, gender, social status, ethnicity, is a tragic thing. I was honored to participate in this anthology. I'd like to read you my poem about how we try to provide equality in the criminal justice system. It's called Equation. I hope that you'll consider it and consider or reconsider your views on the death penalty. Thank you. Equation. The symmetry of it is seductive. An equation on the blackboard. A statement of equality. An eye for an eye. Solve the equation. Erase the board. Slate clean. Begin again. Undeterred by the multitude of equations waiting to be solved. In these balancing acts, we are the operators of variables. Subtract or add to achieve the ends. An eye for an eye. We choose to subtract. The operator remains the same in every equation. Subtract. Solve for x, solve for y. Each is equal to the other. It is a formula for a salve that should heal a wound now twice wide. But what wound did ever heal but by degrees? Erase the board. Slate clean. Begin again. Undeterred by the accumulation of what remains after every erasure. A bone-white dust. Finer than ash, it rises in the air. It settles on your scalp. It abrades your skin. It fills your nostrils. The taste of it is bitter on your tongue.
Hi, I'm Nancy Fowler, a California transplant who has lived for the last 14 years on the Olympic Peninsula of Washington. My poetry focuses on acknowledging the essential beingness of the environment and the people who share a common broken humanity. I became interested in this project when 4.5 years ago, my then 19-year-old granddaughter was murdered, her throat slashed. I was forced to re-examine my long-held opposition to the death penalty in a more personal way. This poem touches on one reason I still hold fast to that viewpoint. Sharing the court proceedings there has developed an even deepening connection among everyone involved. The web of connection. He flew from his mother's lap, laughing, dashes across the aisle, darts between the seats. You can't catch me. But he is caught by the court officer who whispers in the mother's ear when the child is returned to her lap. Everyone smiles except for the judge, maintaining her mask of fetid emotion. Everyone smiles, even me, as I sit behind the rail that separates the viewers from the business of the court. Justice, revenge, closure, the right of society to protect itself, words repeated to me, even by me, as I tried to understand which might bring Danny back. The answer, of course, is none. Love alone will keep her presence alive in my heart and in the world. I feel her smile, too, at the joyful child. Imagined, even as the graphic photograph on display across the courtroom is horror, blood, and pain, my granddaughter lying on the pavement. Herself a new mother, she would understand the flustered young woman with the squirming boy in her arms, who pushes out through swinging doors, squirming still. The boy looks over her shoulder, waves at his father, legs shackled to the oak table, arms shackled to the ankle chains. Daddy smiles and blows a kiss. Despite the rule of no communication, the court officer averts his eyes.
Hi, my name is Terry Persun. I am not only the co-editor, but also one of the poets involved with Strange Fruit. There's poems on the death penalty, and we did this poetry book to bring awareness to the death penalty and what it means to our society and our people, and to explore all the aspects involved. One of the things that I love about poetry is that it allows us to explore more deeply than what some other kind of writings might do on an emotional level. I've been writing poetry for over 40 years. I also write novels and nonfiction, and I've been doing that for a long time and make my living doing that. So when I had the opportunity to work with Sarah Zale on this book, I thought it was the right thing to do. So what I'm going to do is read one of the poems that is in there from my own work and go from there. So this poem is called Penalty. The sky backlights the city blue, no matter what transpires inside prison walls. A man's life, like an open hand, steady and sure, but strong. What should be done when anger throws its shadow over morality? Judging is a sin according to most religions. Yet the first tool taken up when we don't understand another's pain. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mark Valentine, and I'd like to read How to Harvest Strange Fruit. The genesis for the poem began probably 3 decades ago when I had a conversation with a prison guard, psychologist from Monroe State Penitentiary, who told me that he knew of, I don't know how the conversation went this way, but apparently there was, may still be, a specialist who remains anonymous. His profession is an expert at hangings, state executions. He remains anonymous because it's protecting his identity. You can imagine why. And it seems in the same way to be anonymous as a professional hitman. Only this is state sanctioned. The epigraph for the poem is from a song that Billie Holiday sang and made famous. Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. This is how to harvest strange fruit. Begin the day before by weighing him. To know his weight, allow for some trials, since too much length will decapitate him, and too little will asphyxiate him. When calculated for the middle, death is instant, with fewer messes to clean. Wax or soap the rope prior to knotting. Tradition says it should have 13 coils. Place him squarely in center of trap door. Blindfold him, or better, use a hood. Then cinch the noose securely on neck with knot on left ear. Also tradition. Habits die hard after all. Tradition allows the state to kill this way. Unless. Thank you.
In this final poem, I'd like to read something I wrote. A little backstory. In 1830, Stephen Simmons, a Detroit bartender, was sentenced to death for killing his wife, Lavanna, in a drunken rage. And at his execution, as was the practice in those days, people traveled from everywhere to view the event. The name of this poem is September 24th, 1830, The Last Hanging in Michigan. It starts with an epigraph by Dunya Mikhail. Oh, where does the world live? Certainly not in memory. September 24th, 1830, The Last Hanging in Michigan. I am the twisted neck and rise and fall of final breaths, the colic ruffle of feathers. I go where the sun weaves through the exact spot on the window glass. I am the flutter of wings and pure absence within a reflection. I am the weight of each step to where the crowd waits, the bend of each knee up scaffold stairs, my eyes like his eyes so wide I can't blink, the spit down my chin and the stone in my throat, a flash of light from the white cap over my face, the weave of a noose around my neck. I am Lavana, my baby in my arms. I am Stephen, sober and singing. I am his sweat from the fields. I am his stagger and his breath, foul with whiskey. I am the heat of his anger, jealous and loving and tired. I am his slap and his sorry and his forgetting. I am the sheriff resigning. I am the jitter of children riding the fever of Indian summer. I am the flex of muscle building the bleachers and testing the gallows. I am the chatter of women still flushed from the burn of the stove that baked the pies. I am the farmer who left his plow. I am the boy in the military band playing the horn. I am the preacher, the midwife, the rancher, the lawyer who hitched up a wagon and traveled for days. I am the merchant on the roof counting 2,000. I am the beads on the brow of the boy who will propose to his girl tonight. I am the drunk with the woman on the second floor, hanging out a window and laughing. I am September. I am the glow of another day. I am the snap of the gallows door. I am the pregnant woman in the back row in a calico dress. I am his breath and my breath in syncopated gasps. I am his body dead and not dead, his body swaying and legs convulsing, his neck awry, his face like a bird's that never saw the glass. I am the boy in the tree, bug-eyed, silent, mid-laugh, and the girl wringing her hands. I am a ripple of shudders and the rustle of wind. The man fingering his hat, a woman dropping a stitch, and jaw after jaw falling. I am the choke of ah in 1,000 throats. I am the woman who shrieks and the man who sobs and the boy who walks softly away. I am the crowd that destroys a flogging post and the circuit rider praying. I am church bells tolling. I am the flow of the ink that changes the law and the man of God who lifts a beer to celebrate the day. I am a family headed to a hanging. I am arms driving another nail to build another gallows. I am weak legs and a voice protesting. I am leaf, I am hum, I am a flower unfolding. I am eyes that can watch without even a sigh, anything die.
Thank you, Sheila, for hosting this reading. I really enjoyed listening to everybody read their own work from this great anthology. Special gratitude goes to the editors, Sarah Zale and Terry Persun, in selecting the work. We will be posting this recording on the Northwind Reading Series Facebook page, as well as the Northwind Arts Center website. You may purchase this book from Amazon.com, and a link will be provided in the previous websites mentioned, as well as directly from Wildfire Press, 10940 West Roundelay Circle, Sun City, Arizona, 85351. This program has been curated by the Northwind Reading Series group, Sheila Bender, Sharon Carter, Holly Hughes, and Linda Robertson. We hope you enjoyed this evening, and we'll see you again. Thank you very much, and good night.